Hey everyone, namaste and welcome to this evening's conversation with our very special guest, Vivek Vijayan. Those of you who are here, please say hi in the comment section and please enter your questions as well as the conversation progresses. We would really love to hear from you and make this as interactive as possible. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Shailaja Menon, and I have been a yoga practitioner and teacher for over 20 years now. I began my journey in Coimbatore, India with integral yoga. And along the way, I set up my studio, Mat and Beyond Yoga Studio, where I teach classes. And I also became an author with my book, Yoga Shakti, published in 2018. Here, I continued as a student with my teacher, Manoj Kaimal, who is the guru of Manasa Yoga. I began my conversations at the beginning of this lockdown to share authentic teachings of yoga. So please know that all of these conversations are available both on our FB pages as well as my YouTube channel. So a little bit about our guest today, Vivek Vijayan. Vivek was born to a family of doctors, both Ayurvedic and allopathic, as well as scholars of the famed Ayurveda Shala Kotakil. He is the grandson of Padma Bhushan Dr. P.K. Warrior. His toddler phase was like any other until the first twist of fate, and he was diagnosed with spinal muscular atrophy at the tender age of 3. He pursued the treatment of Ayurveda, and 11 years of systemic treatment yielded results and put a stop to this degenerative disease. At 18, he realized that math was not his strong suit, and he decided to pursue English literature through distance education. Simultaneously, he also added his own twist to the tale and enrolled himself to the science of astrology under the able tutelage of his maternal grandfather, K.G. Warrior. Astrology led him to study the ancient language of Sanskrit, which was followed by the study of the Vedas and the Upanishads under the guidance of scholars of the respective fields. He is also the author of a crime thriller, I Lie in Wait. What began as a script for a Malayalam movie under the film director Mr. Jayaraj transformed itself into an English novel by this ardent admirer of Sherlock Holmes. So with this, I'm going to just end my introduction. I just want to add that his literary works, both poems and prose alike, on spirituality, politics, and ancient literature, has been published in most of the Malayalam dailies and magazines in Kerala. And he also happens to be one of the disciples of Sri M. So welcome to this conversation, Vivek. And I really hope, like I said at the beginning of this conversation, I just hope you're going to have some fun.
Of course, yes, it's a guarantee.
So really looking forward to getting to know you and the many facets of you.
Of course, yeah, it would be a pleasure. Yeah.
So to begin this conversation, I just wanted to ask you, what was your childhood like? Right? For most kids, it's about running, playing, right, climbing trees, playing football, etc. And how was it for you? Like you were diagnosed at the age of 3, and was it like you just straight away, like, you know, you couldn't do anything, or were you able to, was it like a slow progression?
It was a slow progression, but my childhood was like any other. Like I used to do all these things, like not in literal sense. But I used to crawl like any toddler would do, and get on ladders, trees. Yeah, I was a prankster like any other kids.
Oh,
so
awesome.
it was normal, yeah. And we used to play cricket. My brother, my cousins, everyone, we used to play cricket indoors. And if the venue changed to outdoors, I would don the role of a commentator.
Oh,
and
awesome.
I used to, yeah. So, and I used to describe how the bowling was, how the batting was, and it was fun. It was a fun-filled childhood. Not like that I was diagnosed and I was very depressed with my
Yeah.
disease. And
Okay.
I'm fortunate enough to have my brother and my cousins who treated me as a normal kid, not as a
Okay.
special, yeah, not a special kind of kid or an alien for that matter. Yeah, so the childhood was like any other normal, and I
That's
attended
great.
normal school as well. Yeah,
Okay,
so
great.
yeah, so my friends, everyone, like I'm truly blessed to have people around me who treated me just like any other normal person. So I never felt that I was handicapped or differently abled. And now
Okay.
the term, yeah,
Politically correct term.
political correct term, yes. Yeah. And in a
So,
way, we are all differently abled. So
normal
it's
is
not that,
whether your brother bullied you or not. That's the ultimate of normal.
uh, in some sense, yes. Like any other sibling, we used to
Yeah.
fight a lot. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Who would bat first? Even
Okay.
if I lost the toss, I would cry and like play my disability card and
Yes.
want to win over him. Yeah, all kind of stuff used to happen. So
Okay, so that's normal.
yes, of course, it was normal. Yeah,
Okay, that's great.
and the main fight between us was for TV. Like
Oh,
earlier in those days, there were only Doordarshan.
okay.
So he would want to watch a cricket match. I would
Okay.
want to watch some comedy show.
Okay.
So yeah, that was one thing that we used to fight a lot about. TV
Okay.
time.
Okay. Okay. So
Yeah,
the sibling rivalry was very alive. That's great.
of course, yes.
Okay. So going to the next question,
Yeah,
I think 12th grade was like a kind of turning point in your life where you
yeah,
decided
yeah.
to kind of, pursue your strengths and interests and,
Yes, yeah.
just go ahead with that. So why did you decide to learn astrology? Like, were you inspired by your grandfather or was it something that you always wanted to do or like why astrology?
No, in my life, nothing has happened according to my plan. So
Okay.
yeah, so when I started the correspondence course in literature, I
Okay.
had plenty of time in my hands. So,
Okay.
and since literature is easy, at least for me,
Yeah.
the papers were so simple, and I used to, I love to read. So I used to go through the syllabus in a jiffy. So I had enough time in my hands. So the biggest mystery of all is the future. So, like I said, I am a huge Sherlock Holmes fan, so I want to solve that mystery. So I
Okay.
asked my grandfather whether I could be your disciple in astrology.
Oh.
He
Uh,
said that, yeah, fine, we'll do that. But
oh.
unfortunately, I was handicapped in as well because I didn't know the language of Sanskrit. So it was hard for me to understand certain terms.
Okay.
And I used to depend more on the commentary than the shlokas,
Okay.
which was at first a bit of a handicap. But when I
Okay.
learned Sanskrit, it became easier.
Okay.
And I used to interpret things not according to the commentary, but according to my limited
Understood.
knowledge.
Loka.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So we're really stepping into this really juicy subject of astrology, which always has creates the ripples of interest in people.
Okay.
So there are people who believe in astrology, there are people who don't believe, and
Yeah.
people think that they have to create their own destiny. Some are just
Yes.
simply curious and right, they're trying to test astrologers whether they're saying the right things. So
Of
I
course.
found it very interesting the way in your profile I had read about how you use astrology as in it
Yeah.
told you what your strengths were and what your situation was, right? You said that it said that you had
Yes.
poor health, but it also
Ah,
said that you had strength with language and
yes.
intuition and all that was your strength. So it was interesting
Yes.
the way you worked astrology, wherein you saw what where you were guided towards and you focused on it and made them your strengths. So
Yeah.
in
Yes.
a very general way, can you just share your insights into astrology, like for all those listening, right?
Okay.
So
Yeah. For like you said, there are believers and non-believers, but actually, like any science, there are many quacks in astrology.
okay,
So, so because of that, you can't say that astrology is a pseudoscience
yeah,
because, like, astronomically speaking, uh, we all know that Jupiter is the uh, largest planet and the one planet with the most gravitational pull. And it is said evidently in astrology, like we term Jupiter as Guru.
Okay.
The one meaning of Guru is one who attracts the most. That is the one definition of Guru. And the other definition of Guru is biggest. So in a way, astrology is more inclined towards astronomy and all other sciences, just like Ayurveda or yoga, like any other ancient science. So to interpret it rightly is something that people never did. And we all know the importance of time. Like in this interview, we have a set stipulated time.
Yeah.
We should start at 5 and we should end at 6.
Yeah.
So in all Vedic rituals or treatment, there is a good time and an auspicious time.
Okay.
And astrology is mainly, at least was mainly used to interpret that time, which is the most auspicious time where we can begin a yajna and reap the most benefits out of it. So that is the main thing that astrology does. Hence, it is called the eye of Vedas. Actually, astrology is called the eye of Vedas. So what we do with the eyes, we see, we observe things. So that observation is what astrology provides us. Unlike many other people who believe that this is only prediction, which is not. Yeah. And there are many calculations which even astronomers find baffling. Like they still can't believe that this used to be our heritage. And that is one thing that all should be enlightened about. Yeah. And yes, of course. Yes. Yeah, please continue. Yeah. So, you were supposed to ask something.
Yeah, no. I just, so this is just that, astrology, a lot of people have a lot of ideas about it, so just curious about, what your interpretation of it was, especially because you've studied it and, so how, or, how accurately you think can we predict the future, or like if yours was quite, your leanings were quite correct.
Of course, that is my leanings. I can only comment on my experience or my ability.
Yeah.
According to my predictions, my predictions like accuracy rate would be 80 to 85%.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you think it is possible for us to predict our futures? And
of course. Yes. And there are certain things that are beyond our control.
Okay.
And we should accept that. Okay. And I can cite one free example, like one small example. We all know about the waxing and waning of the moon.
Yeah.
And that impacts the seed level. And it affects all kind of navigation. That's a given fact. 90%, like 70% of our body is water.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if a small waxing and waning can cause an entire sea to be tumultuous, then we are all mere humans. So we can.
Yeah, so we also get affected by the waxing and the waning.
Of course, yes. Yeah, of course.
Okay. So actually, since you mentioned this, I was just remembering another talk that I was hearing, and like they use the word like how we say people go a bit loony kind of thing, and actually that there was some truth in that, and that we do get affected during those.
We do get affected.
Get affected by
nature is one example. Like when Mars comes near to Earth, even the astronomers say that there are chances of natural calamities. So we are one part of nature. So it's not that we are some aloof thing from nature. So it would affect us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So moving to another topic, since you have a lot of scriptural knowledge as well. So just exploring a little bit, again, karma is a word that is so overused. I think that it's almost become a part of the English dictionary.
Yes, that's true.
Right. So just wondering, how do you, from your understanding, how do you see the role of karma in one's life? And right. So what can one do in this lifetime to mitigate karma or to create good karma, or, what is your understanding?
The easy way to do is good karma. If you
What
do
is
good
karma?
karma,
Can you explain a little bit?
for me, it's just cause and effect. There's a cause and there's an effect.
Okay.
And what caused us to do that karma ultimately results on the effect of that karma. That's one thing that I
really straightforward. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, and it's just an action and reaction. It's if we put throw a stone into a pond, the ripples are bound to happen. So our karmas are like stones. So that causes a ripple effect across the universe. So it's not that your karma affects only you. It affects the entire universe. As we are part, at least
the universe.
What we perceive as universe, we are part of it. Yeah. So that is my explanation of karma, cause and effect.
So good karma is the way to go.
Of course, that is the basis of yoga as well. You should be truthful, and you should be non-violent. So those are good karmas. So the yamas and niyamas all.
Is it possible to mitigate your karma?
Of course, it is possible.
You think like puja, rituals, all of it helps to mitigate karma?
Puja and rituals are karma itself. So it's not that, yeah, that is karma itself.
When you go to an astrologer, they'll tell you, do this, they'll help you. So it's just...
Actually, the problem with astrology is that nowadays everything is hand in glove. There are commissions. So if I ask someone to go to this temple and do a puja of 1,000 rupees, I get 200 rupees of that. So that is not the karma I'm talking about. I'm talking about if you are predicting a puja, the astrologer should just make a quote, should tell him who the priest should be, at which place it should be done, at what time it should be done. Nobody does that. He just gives you a go to Guruvayur or go to Shabarimala and do this puja. That's all. That is not the way to do it. There should be an opportune time, and according to that, only should one do that puja or ritual or anything, for that matter. So that is one thing we should do. So those are karma itself that mitigates the bad karma.
Okay. So there is a question from your cousin Avinash Suresh. So he asks, is it the motive behind the action or the action itself that matters?
Thought is what that matters. What we think we do. The first action begins with the thought.
Okay.
Yeah.
So motive is important.
Motive is important. Yeah. The thought is important. Actually, our entire life is nothing but a culmination of thoughts. So what we think is right, we do. The problem is we think there should be no hindsight. If you do things that was the right thing at that time, there is no point going forward or going backward and telling that I should have done that, I should have done that. That's not a good thing to do. You did what was best at that time. Yeah.
That's good. So you have many comments coming here. A lot of people saying hello. You have a Rajesh Warrior who says, hello. It's very nice to hear your views. And then there are a lot of my students around. Hi, Chandran. There's Mayank Sharma who says, my namam to you, my brother, I bow to you. And then there's also some people from Coimbatore, my friend Murli. There's Smita from here. So a lot of people saying hello, all of you. Thank you all for joining in.
Hi to everyone.
Yeah, so Vivek says hi as well. So do connect with us, do send in your questions, and we can make this a lot more interesting. So moving on to the next question. I really have to make it a point to bring up Vivek's attitude. So I got to know Vivek about 2 weeks ago, and we've been kind of corresponding since then. And most of his, conversations will begin with, if I ask him how he is, he'll say, in bliss as always. Or he will tell me that, he feels completely blessed, right? So I'm just saying some of the few things that in these few nuggets of wisdom and, precious pieces of information that I've been collecting from him. I don't think he knows I'm collecting over the last couple couple of weeks where, he told me really some beautiful things. He says, blessings are like the wind. You just have to open your heart and you will be full of it. Right. So
Yes,
again,
yes,
another beautiful thing that he told me was, if it is answers you seek, imagine or meditate on it, and the answers come from within. Yeah,
yes.
so I really love your attitude, Vivek, and that's
Thank
really
you.
one of the first things that struck me when I started, these conversations with you. I mean, just not right here, but even just connecting with you. So,
Thank
what
you.
is, in our everyday life, only people who seemingly, supposedly, people who are kind of all right. I don't want to say normal and all that, but just in depression and mental health
Yes.
issues is becoming the next big pandemic, as they say. So what keeps your mind in such a great space, and really where do you get this amazing strength of mind?
Like I said, it is a blessing. What can I say? My gurus are too good, and they have guided me in the right path. Actually, it's a combination of things, a cocktail of sorts. Like I too was depressed. There's no shame in telling the truth. Uh, I too get depressed. I too get angry with my fate or the people around me, and these are all momentary. For the next one, that's a conscious practice that I follow. Uh, that when I get angry, I talk to myself and say, "Why are you getting angry? Why are you getting worked up?" And that question puts me down, and I go to my normal self. That is one exercise I do. And the other thing, the positive attitude, maybe because of my constant chanting of Vedas and the
Okay.
meditation that I do, and of course, uh, my Guruji is one person that is my biggest strength, Sri
Okay.
M, and it's not that I converse with him daily in WhatsApp or telephone, but whenever I am in doubt, uh, I can feel his presence or experience his presence. Not feel. Feel is a pretty negative word for me. It's an experience that I have. So, and actually, when uh, I have a doubt about some questions, whether it is spiritual, mostly when it's spiritual, some random people whom I haven't met for a long time would come to meet me that day. And uh, he would be the last person I would expect that answer from. And he would give me that answer amidst the conversation, and he just walks away. So that kind of experiences have made me more attuned towards the nature, and that is one thing. When you are close to nature, then it's like in the bosom of your mother. So it acts as a protective shield, according to me. And so, like all mothers, Mother Nature would take care of me and my problems, and I would feel safe. So that is one thing that I experience. I don't know how many of us would think of what I just said, but that has been my experience, and that experience had made me believe or have faith in my guru and the higher forces that are in nature, that no matter what, they would guide me. So once you have that blessing, then it's the uh, sky is the limit, so to say. Yeah.
So, like, how did this happen? Like, did it happen through your, how did this faith develop? Was it through your, as when you started learning astrology, or was it when you started yoga, or when you started meditating? Like, when?
Way before that, way
Okay,
before that,
okay,
like thanks to my paternal grandmother and my mother, I was more I was introduced at a young age to the Puranas, like Mahabharata, Ramayana, and
okay,
even though my mother claims that she doesn't know anything, uh, she knew these stories that she had heard from her grandmother.
Okay.
So her grandmother was a scholar in Sanskrit. So she had interpreted the story in such a way that I never felt that Ravana was a bad guy, or
Okay.
Duryodhana was a bad guy for that matter, because
Okay.
they just told you the story. It was up to me to define what it was.
Your own.
So, yeah, to
Draw your own
reach my
judgment.
own conclusions. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and my thanks to my grandmother, she used to uh, make me chant these slokas, and so did my grandfather, my maternal grandfather, both my grandfathers, and actually it might be the place as well. Cortical is one place where there is no like you get to meet people who are truly blessed. Like many scholars would often visit my grandmother,
Yeah.
and even though I didn't know who they were at that time, they guided me towards these things even before I knew that this was what it was. Like be it bhakti, yoga, or faith, or
Yeah.
chanting hymns,
Yeah.
everything. And that is one thing. And it is a proven fact that all these chanting opens up your mind. And once your mind is open, then there is no place for depression or any negative thoughts for that matter. But like I said, even though I claim to do all these things, I too get angry and I too get depressed sometimes. I'm not claiming that I'm some superhuman who's always positive.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it is comparatively less.
Yeah.
And I never dwell on the past, and neither am I worried about the future, because, like I said, there is no guarantee that this is going to happen. And especially in my case, there is no plan. I just do things with a prayer in mind. That's all.
Very beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you.
So we have many comments here. There is Rajesh Warrior who wants to know which Sherlock Holmes story do you like the most?
A Scandal in Belgrade, or yeah, a Scandal in Belgrade, I believe. The one with Irene Adler. I forgot the title. That is my
Okay.
favorite, because she is the one person who outfoxed Sherlock Holmes.
Okay.
So I enjoyed that most.
Okay,
Yes.
great. And then there is my sister-in-law here, Veena Menon, who says, "Hello, Shaili and Vivek," and she says, "Loving listening to your little wisdom, I guess nuggets of wisdom, of your resilience and positivity, Vivek." Right?
Oh,
So
thank you. Thank
a
you.
lot of people are listening to this and inspired by what they're hearing from you. Yeah, and there's my cousin Prakash who says, "A very inspiring experience, Vivek."
Oh,
And
thank you.
so the other thing, okay, so I haven't forgotten about yoga. I've been talking about everything else. So yeah, so I first actually came across when Ushchechi, who's also related to you, she my sister-in-law, she sent me your video on International Yoga Day, and that was very impressive to hear about. You talk about the benefits of pranayama. I think that was what we were talking about.
Yes.
So just could you just take us through your whole journey of yoga, as in, right, when were you first exposed to it, how were you exposed to it, right, and then what I'm most interested in is that, because a lot of people step into the practice, but not everyone is gripped by the practice. A lot of people just lose interest and go away, but usually there is something, for long time practitioners, there is some aspect of the practice that really calls to you. So just wondering what about the practice, called to you to stick with it. So let's just start with the beginning, right? So when were you introduced to yoga?
I was introduced to yoga by my father, actually. He used to do Surya Namaskars when I was little. And like any other child, my father was the biggest hero I could ever imagine.
Yes.
So I wanted to emulate everything he does. That's how I started even watching cricket, for that matter.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So he used to do all these Surya Namaskars.
Okay.
And I did some of that, which I could do, not the standing ones, but the sitting postures, or the ones where you like stretch your back, stuff
Sorry,
like that.
how old
Yeah.
were you, Vivek?
I was 6, 7 by then. Yeah.
Cute.
Yes. So that was my first introduction to yoga. And people always ask me, like in all my childhood photos, I usually sit in the folded leg position.
Nice.
That's something that comes automatically to me.
Naturally to you.
Like I said, yeah, and naturally to me. Like I said, I am blessed in that way. And so I used to do all these courses, but after that, like any other kid, I lost interest and moved on to other things. And when I started learning astrology around that time, 2004, 2005, my aunt, my father's sister, she asked my father to take me to Swami Niranjanananda. He is one of the aces of Bihar School of Yoga, and he was here for treatment. And my aunt asked my father to take me there and pay him a visit. So, like any other person, I followed my father and went to meet him. And spontaneously, he asked me whether you do pranayama. So I said, no, I don't do pranayama. You should do. Okay, then I'll do it. No problem. And by divine intervention, his student, one of his students, an adept instructor himself, Mr. Tyagi Subhash, he was the yoga instructor here in Ayurveda at that period. Yeah. And so Swami Niranjananda asked Tyagi sir to initiate me into pranayama. And I did so. And after that, sorry, my thought break. Okay. After that, sorry, I thought, sorry. Then I started doing pranayama. I started with Ujjayi breath and Anulom Vilom and Surya Vedanam, Chandra Vedanam, and Brahmari. That is the first practice that I did. And after that, one of my teacher who introduced me into Vedas, he asked me to go and meet like the head of Shankara Math in Tirur. So so we went there and met him. So he asked to enhance the practice, asked me to enhance the practice, and I started doing Kumbhaga, Kapalabhati, and all kind of other heavy stuff. And yeah, and after that, what happened was that the energy surge was so much that my body couldn't like undergo the surge. So I started falling sick randomly. Like I would be in the hospital for 2 weeks, get back to my house, do the practice again, and immediately after 3 weeks, I should go to the hospital again. Yeah, and so that was a routine at that time. Okay. And once I asked Tyagi whether I should do all these things, so he came and started asking me to do the initial stuff, which was Ujjayi breath, and let me see. Yeah, and let me see. So I did Ujjayi breath, and he was astonished to the fact that with 21 cycles of Ujjayi breath, my lungs was full. So I'm taking enough breath. So he said, why do you want to do all these stuffs when just Ujjayi breath is enough for you to, for you to get all the benefits you need. So I said, okay, then I'll put a stop to all the rest and continue with Ujjayi breath. So that I have been doing since then. That could be for the past 7 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what about, like, when you started doing the pranayama practice, what did you feel and why did you continue with it? Like, did you ever think, why am I doing this? Or you felt some benefit of the practice?
Actually, I never think about benefits when I do things. I just do things. I'm not worried about the benefits, whether I am going to reap any benefits or not. That is something that I never think about. Uh, like I said, my grandmother was the one who was one among the person who introduced me into Ramayana, and there is Sage Bharadwaja. I was pretty inspired by his tale. He knew that Rama is going to be born at this yuga, and he would be coming to the forest at this time. And so, unfortunately, he had only 3 breaths left. After that, he would die. So, what he did was that he controlled his breath and took 2 breaths at the interval of so some 200-300 years.
Okay.
And he took his last breath only when he saw Rama and prostrated in front of him and chanted hymns to to call off his glory, and only then did he die. So that is one story that has stuck with me since then. Yeah. So correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know whether it's Bharadwaja or some other sage, but there is a sage in Ramayana who did this. So that is one thing that inspired me about, like, if you can control your breath to that extent, then you are superhuman. Like you are, say, which is the biggest superhero? Batman, Superman.
Okay, we get it.
Yes, yeah. So that is one thing that made me think, and the stuff that yogis do by controlling their breath is something no superhero can do. So who doesn't want to be a superhero? If you are asking me about a benefit or something that inspires me to
inspire you to continue.
Yeah, something that has inspired me to stick on this path is this. I want to even be 1% like them, not 100%.
Yeah. And you were also talking in that video, I remember, about how a lot of people, with this condition actually would not be in such a good place in terms of their breathing and their lung capacity and all that. And you think you attribute that to your pranayama practice.
Of course, yes. Like most of the doctors who treat me are astonished themselves. Like, how does a person suffering from spinal muscular atrophy could talk like this or breathe like any normal person? Normally, people would gasp after talking to just 2 minutes.
Oh, really? Awesome.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So yeah.
It's really
so
very, very wonderful.
Of course, yes, that's true.
So we're also having this conversation right now because of the power of your pranayama practice, right?
Yes, of course, yes.
Our conversation with me.
Yes, that's true. That's
great. So a lot of wonderful comments coming in. There is my friend and student Sharda who says it's bliss listening to this conversation. So you are inspiring a lot of people, and I think your bliss word is going to catch on.
It's going to rub off from others as well.
Yeah. So how are you doing? I'm in bliss. Thank you.
Yes, of course.
I think that's how it's going to be. So there's Saraswati Sakhi who says, thank you, Shailaja, very inspiring. I think the thank you should go to Vivek. He's the inspiration.
Yes.
And then I have my cousin Reena here who says, humbly ask, what is your view about the often used phrase, we're going back here on karma, which he says, the phrase is past life karma. It's past life karma, right? Everybody says that.
Yes.
So what is your view on that?
My view would be, if you believe in past life, then there are things that you have done which has made you choose this birth or have this birth, or that is what I believe in too. And that action, whatever the reason may be, that actions has defined what you are in this life. That is one thing. Can we take a break for 2 minutes, because I want to connect my charger, because the laptop is showing. Would it be a problem?
No, it's okay. So can we be online, or you want us to switch off?
Let me see. would it be a problem if I switch off? Because I'm not sure whether I can get anyone to come here in that at that fast.
Okay,
So
okay.
would it be a problem?
Guys, no, it's fine. I'll just tell everybody. Okay, guys. So
Yeah,
just
5
come back.
minutes.
We're just going to take a break and come back in 5 minutes. So
Okay, thank you.
just come back. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Take care of us.
Yeah, but you have an excuse. I don't. Okay, so we're live again, and I hope at least many of you will join us back on our conversation. So we're just getting started anyway, and hopefully you will join us along the way.
My
So to go,
sincere apologies.
yeah, please go ahead, Vivek.
Yes, my sincere apologies for the break. Unfortunately, my laptop was a bit in trouble. That's why. Sorry.
No worries. So I think I see people starting to come back on. So we'll just get started anyway. We were talking about, I think, the benefits of. Okay, you don't like the word benefits, but why you?
No problem. You can choose whatever your words you want. It's not a problem.
Yeah, but basically, why you stuck with the practice, and I think it's very interesting. When I hear you talk about the influence of your grandmother on your life and your childhood, especially with all these
Yes.
stories and mythology that she imparted to you.
Yeah. Yes.
So I think that has really, in a great way, shaped your thinking and influenced
Yes.
your life. I mean, people
Yes.
don't realize, I think, how important these stories and imparting all these things to children. I mean, it used to be, I think, our way of life, earlier. But
Yes.
I think in modern life, where people are so busy and fairy tales have kind of taken over, I think it's
Yeah.
wonderful. You see, like just the mythology story of we will keep him as Bharatwaja, right? But just the story of him and his pranayama and his ability to hold
Yes.
his breath over years has inspired your pranayama practice so much
Yes.
later on in life. I mean, it's
Yeah.
amazing the power of mythology.
Of course. Yes. And you mentioned the word fairy tale. Ramayana and Mahabharata is nothing but a fairy tale.
Yeah, but I'm saying,
Irrespective of whether it happened or not.
yeah,
Yeah, it's like there should be stories that should inspire us to that gives us hope. That is one thing that our life is all about. The I wouldn't say mirage, a glimpse of uh, hope that tomorrow is going to be a better day.
correct. I
Yeah.
always think, I mean, maybe it's a very, rhetorical question, but really, what is life without hope, right? Whatever your
Yes. Yes.
situation is, as long as there is hope, you can, stay on the side of positivity. And I
Yeah.
think it's when we lose hope or we lose, I like the word faith as well. When we lose faith,
Yes.
that we
Yeah.
actually go down that cliff, towards depression and anxiety and,
Actually,
kind of give up on ourselves.
yes, of course.
So
You
these are
mentioned loss of faith. It's not loss of faith. Faith is never lost. You just uh, change change your faith. That's all. Your faith. Once you were an atheist, now you are a believer in God. That's all.
really.
That is faith. Even if like if you say there is no God, that is your faith. You can't have a life without faith.
It's just which side.
Yes, it's just with sight.
Yeah. So you talked about, right, meditation practice, pranayama
Yes.
practice.
Yeah.
So what is your daily routine like, right? What is your practice like? How long do you do your
Uh,
pranayama practice for? When do you do it? Morning,
I,
evening? How long do you meditate?
evenings.
How long do you
Yes.
meditate? So there's so many different elements in your life, right? So
Yes.
just
Yes. Normally, my spiritual practice. The only thing that I do now is chant Vedas. There are certain mantras that I like, especially Gayatri mantra, not the literal Om Bhur Bhuvasva, the more defined version of it, like the Gayatri Upasthana mantra and Avahana mantra. Sorry, the Avahana mantra first and the Upasthana mantra next. And there is one beautiful hymn called Akshibhyam Te. There is everything we do. Like We are not asking, praying for God that give us with good sight, good deeds, and everything good. So there is one hymn that I like the most. So these three hymns are the ones that I chant. That in the morning. It depends whether I get up early or late. If I get up late, I do the chanting after my bath.
Okay.
If it is early, then I chant, and only then do I have my bath. There is one practice, spiritual practice, so to say, that I do. The other is the meditation or the yoga that we mentioned, that I do in evenings around 6:30. Not daily. Like I said, it's too like the energy surge is something that I can't. Yeah. So I can't tolerate. So not tolerate that I can't cope with, so to say. And so I do it twice a week, Mondays and Thursdays. Yeah, and there's a short story behind those 2 days. Actually, Monday is attributed to Lord Shiva, and I'm an ardent Shiva Bhakt. So
Awesome.
so I do it on Monday. And of course, like I said, Guru is one factor that we can't live without. So Thursday being Guruvar, I do it on Thursday as well. So that is my spiritual practice. Yeah.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice to hear that.
Thank you.
So actually, in the earlier feed, I'm not sure if my cousin Prakash is here, but he had actually asked about
Yes.
pranayama practice and the effect of pranayama on the mind. So you had also talked very nicely about that in your earlier video. So I was just wondering whether you can just share, the connection between the breath and the mind.
Like our breath is one thing that is controlling our thoughts. If we are stressed or if we are a bit tensed in a way, our breath will be shallow. If we are chanting or praying, our breathing pattern will be different. It will be very slow in rhythm. And there are many subtle differences in the breaths that we never concentrate on. So in pranayama, the literal word pranayama means controlling breath. So once you control your breath, you control your thoughts. Once you control your thoughts, you control your actions. And so in effect, you can be the factor that controls the karma.
Yes.
Simply put. Yes.
So that is how powerful the effect of pranayama practice and
practice is. Yes.
working with your breath.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to bring that.
Oh,
So, so this again is a source of great curiosity because you are so extremely well versed, with the scriptures, the Vedas, the Upanishads, astrology, and yet you wrote like a thriller novel,
Yes.
So how did that happen, right? So what was the connection like?
I wanted to become a writer after I read Harry Potter. I
Okay.
was truly blown away by the writing and the sheer imagination of Miss J.K. Rowling to create a world out of nothing. For me, it is something like it's nothing short of a mythology for me. So to create an entire world and the attention to detail, like there is everything in Hogwarts, there is everything in that wizarding world. So I was truly inspired by the writing first. When I read about her life or the pains she took to be a writer, that just like blew me away. Yeah, blew me away. Yeah, of course. Because to get rejected 12 times by the publishers, and still not giving up hope, like we said, and to be one of the most sought after author is something that no normal person could achieve. So after I read Harry Potter, I wanted to write anything. Before that, I used to write some like plagiarized versions of horror stories
Okay.
that I watched during my childhood time.
Why horror? What is that?
That is
So
one thing that we don't know
horror
about. Are there
thrillers.
spirit? Are the spirits real, or do they haunt?
Very
That
interesting.
is one. Yeah, that is one mystery that everyone has. Like
Yeah,
everyone thinks about normally.
right.
Like any normal person, if you ask him to go to a cemetery at night, he would
Yeah,
think twice
yeah,
because we fear the unknown. So
correct.
that fear is one thing that I wanted to overcome. I had many fears, like to simple fears, like I didn't like the sound of crackers. When my entire friends or cousins or brother, everyone used to fire crackers, and I was the only person cooped up in my room under a blanket, uh, plugging my ears, which was very embarrassing. And once my cousin went like for that matter, he's an ardent fan of explosives, like
Oh,
all kind of firecrackers he enjoys. He made sure that the amount of firecrackers were less, and he for me solely for me he bought other kind of stuff like match lamps or something like that, and he
yeah.
asked
No
me to
loud
come.
noises.
Yeah, no loud noises. And he asked me to come for that Vishu. You won't believe that there was only, if I remember correctly, only 2 packs of explosives or firecrackers. And for that 2 packs, I literally felt sick with fever and couldn't go. That was the fear I had for crackers. And once I started learning all these things and charted the path of spirituality, I wanted to overcome that fear, and I took conscious effort. Like I used to observe my fear. What is one thing that I fear about? That is the expectation of that sound, of that loud crack. So I trained my mind not to expect it. So now I have no problems hearing to that loud sound, and that is one thing that is one thing that inspired me to go further and venture into horror land.
That's a
And
big.
yes, so I used to get fear of spirits, fear of the dark. That is something that
Okay.
we all have. All
Uh,
these phobias were there. So
okay.
to overcome all these things, I started writing stuff, all kind of stuff. That
Uh,
I used to watch horror stories with my aunt. I used to write about it, but the fear never went. Only after I started practicing all these things and controlled my mind, did all these phobias went. So I was a writer at that age, if you can call that an age, teens. Like
okay.
any other person, I used to write all kind of stuff. Uh, and once I looked into my horoscope and saw that language is one of my strong points, I started reading a lot. Actually, I should thank one of my dad's friend who gifted me a book, of course, the one Da Vinci Code by Dan Brown, which restarted my reading habit, and I became a voracious reader. So once I got the feel of how to write a book, I started writing drafts, but never showed it to anyone. Just for me, just for me. It was a hidden pleasure, so to say.
Yeah.
And yeah, and incident, like everything happens in my life. I happened to meet Mr. Jairaj, and we struck. And I am a movie buff, so I have watched all the films and all kind of films, foreign films, you name it. Uh, I will watch all kind of films, even Korean, Argentine. Even though I don't know the language, I used to watch all kind of movies with the help of subtitles. So while talking to him about the books and the films, he asked me, "Why don't you write a script?" So
Oh,
I thought he was, I thought he was pulling my leg. So I just brushed it off. But after 2 days, he asked me again, and that, "Have you started writing?" So I asked him, "Oh, you were serious?" So I thought you were just pulling my leg. So I then, if you are that confident that I could write a script
yeah.
for a movie,
Yeah.
for that matter, then surely I'll do my stuff. And I wrote a story. Actually, my brother, cousin, actually, Ajay was the one who was my bouncing board. I told him close to 8 story, and the book now you read is the 8th story. The
Okay.
7 stories he
Rejected.
he rejected blindly without even listening to the first time.
Okay.
I just told him the plot, and that it won't work again next time. So that was it was very disheartening. Like I like all the plots, but he was very particular that this won't work, that won't work. Yeah, he was very choosy. And finally, when I told him the plot of this, she said, "Yeah, this is the one you should write about." So I wrote like any other amateur writer. I made many mistakes, and I wrote a lot of horrible stuff that a movie doesn't need. And it was like that. So, but like Director Jairaj liked the plot, and he made some minor changes, not minor, major changes, and asked me to rewrite it again. And after 3 drafts, he was convinced that it's a good script.
Oh my God,
So,
that's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. The next obstacle or hurdle was to get a producer. Unfortunately, he has charted his own course to parallel film, so he wasn't that uh, okay with coming back to the commercial stuff. So he asked many of the producers around. Nobody wanted a script with a female protagonist, for one. Uh, Secondly, they weren't trying to experiment with a first-time writer. So those were the 2 obstacles. But fortunately, one of my brother's friends was willing to produce the movie, and everything was set. But Mr. Modi played spoil sport and brought in demonetization. So everything, so everything went haywire. So my brother's friend got many of the cash inflow was stopped, and all kind of stuff happened. Issues, yes. And after that, when everything was a bit settled, I approached some seasoned film producers, but nobody was willing to experiment on this female protagonist role. Everybody wanted Mohanlal or Mammootty or some other superstar. Which unfortunately would have spoiled the script and the story as well.
Quality.
Yeah. So I thought, let it be so. I wasn't ready for compromise. And I was not that particular that I should make a movie, for that matter. It was something that Mrs. Jairaj told me, and I just experimented it, and it failed. That's all. I was okay with it. But I am fortunate to have a friend like him, Mr. Jairaj. He told me, nothing doing. We are going to publish this as a book.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, okay. So then I thought, it was easy because the story is set. I only had to translate it to English. So I did it in a span of 2 weeks, 3 weeks, so to say. And sent it to my cousin sister. Her name is Kalyani. She's a freelance journalist in Dubai. So she's the one who edited the stuff, the literal stuff. The medical stuff was edited by my another good friend, Dr. Reshmi. So these 2 ladies are the ones who made this book as it is. So when she told me that I think this is too short to be a novel, I never believed her, and I googled it. So what are the stipulations? Yeah, criteria for to make a novel.
Number of words.
The number of words. That is one thing. 50,000 words was the minimum. Don't laugh. I only wrote 22,000 words.
Okay.
Yeah. So there is a deficit of close to 30,000, 35,000 words. So that is one dilemma that was very hard to overcome. I don't know how to go about that. I didn't know anything. That's when like I said in my many of the videos, the power of subconscious worked. I just went to sleep one day asking, like pondering over the question, how to develop this story. I don't know how many of you would believe. I was struck with a thought at 2 in the morning. That why don't I give a subplot to all these characters, which is close to 75 of them, the total number of characters, but the main characters were 10 to 15 people. So why don't give them a backstory? At least the heroes. I started with the heroes, or the main protagonists, so to say. There are no heroes or villains or anything like that. It's up to you whether to judge who is the hero or who the villain is. So I did that, and suddenly it was 69,000 words. So yeah, I did that in a span of, for 2 months. I just played idle. I didn't write a thing, not one word. I just pondered over the question again and again. Even though I did get the answer, I wasn't in a mood to write. But when, in June, I believe, I started writing, and by January it was over. And I sent it to Kalyani, and she edited it and cut down the words to 50,000. Dot. Just 50,000 on the mark, which I thought was pretty drastic editing. So I incorporated again certain portions that she had edited. And we had a tiff about it, as not in literal sense, but a difference of opinion about it, which to keep and which not. And this plot is not working. This is too filmy. All kind of stuff were debated. And once it was all said, the words was, if I remember correctly, 62,000 to 63,000. And we ended with that. The next thing was publishing. And not to the extent of 12 publishing houses, but I approached 5 publishing houses and nobody was willing to publish it. The only positive response I got was from Amazon. But unfortunately, they were busy with all kind of books, so they didn't have time to incorporate mine at this year, so 2020. And then again, I thought what to do next. And so I asked Google again, just search for random publishing houses, and came across the name Notion Press. So I contacted them, and you won't believe they were very warm enough to accommodate an amateur writer. This is my first book, and I have no experience at all in any of these fields.
Yeah.
So especially in crime. So they were very accommodative, and they guided me through all these processes, and they made it happen in a way. And they launched it in February. But since it's me, nothing goes according to plan. Then Corona struck. Yeah. So many of my friends who had ordered the book, unfortunately, the publishing house is based in Chennai. So Chennai was the worst hit with COVID.
Right.
And they couldn't open their offices or do anything about it.
Yeah.
So it came to a standstill, and many of my friends are still complaining that they didn't have their copy. So they don't have their copy.
Yeah.
I asked them to wait patiently,
Yeah.
or as the title goes, you lie in wait. So that's how it goes. But fortunately, it is picking up. And why crime was the question. So this is the milieu as to how it happened. Why crime? Like there is a preconceived notion about me that the only thing I am interested in is is spirituality or politics or any other stuff. And nobody knows that I enjoy thriller books. Uh,
So
and
you want to shock people with this other dimension to yourself.
yes. So and there is one question people would ask: why is such a spiritually inclined person writing such a gory, detailed murder mystery? So is he so violent? There will be 1,000 questions just because I wrote a crime novel.
It's raised
So
question.
So I want to pique their curiosity. That is one notion behind it. The other being, uh, if I wrote a book about spirituality at the beginning, people would say, this was something that was bound to happen. Yeah, it is. I always enjoy when I give a shock to people. So I want to shock them with a crime novel. And incidentally, my next book is on spirituality. So
yeah, so let's talk a little bit about that. I mean, that was going to be my next question. What are the other things that you're working on now?
the one thing that I'm working on now is my paternal grandfather, Dr. P.K. Warrior's biography, English translation. I plan it to be a 3-part series, a 3-part book, a collector's edition, so to say. And I'm planning to launch it, if everything goes according to plan, on his birth centenary. That is next year.
Ooh.
Yeah, he's going to be 100 years next year.
Awesome.
So that is bound to be a big bash.
Yeah.
So I want to be prepared for that. And this
around which month is
that? In June 5th.
Well, hopefully Corona will cooperate as well.
Cooperate as well, yes. Yeah. And I wanted this translation to be my gift to him.
Okay. Yeah,
that's the least I could do.
Wonderful.
And the other book that I'm working on is Kanagadhara Stotram, commentary on Kanagadhara Stotram. There is one Stotram which has got its merit, according to me. And people believe that it is something we should chant to get a whole lot of money, which is not. It is highly spiritual. And I want to tap into that spiritual aspect of that. Yeah, elaborate on that spiritual aspect of Kanagadhara Stotram. Okay. And there are 2 books that I'm currently working on, and there is a sequel to my crime novel as well.
Oh, there's a sequel coming as well.
yeah. So there is that too. So okay. In that way, I'm pretty much tied up. Yeah.
Yes, I can see you don't have much time for all these books. And it's very interesting, right? That it I guess activates different aspects of you, your love for crime and horror, and also your spiritual side. Very creative and very.
Actually, I wanted my novel to be a social commentary as well. So it is incomplete without crime. So crime is just a backdrop in which I told a story about people and their psychology, so to say, the greed or the emotions that drive us. That is one thing that the book is based on. It's up to you how to interpret it.
Yes. Yeah. I look forward to reading it, but I will wait till Corona supports and helps and we can get our books.
Of course, yes. Now it's pretty good. Actually, many of my friends are getting it. Now the courier service is on. Okay. So, it's not that much of trouble to procure one copy. Okay.
Yeah. And I have a comment here from Surendra Ji who says, what a blessing to listen to Vivek Ji and his journey. Thanks for inspiring us to chant the Ved mantras and continuing pranayama practice. So I think those are key
Thank you.
aspects that have come out of this conversation.
Yes,
And
thank you.
love the conversation. So wonderful to hear the comments coming in.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I think I really should let you go. It's already almost half an hour. And just last question, who inspires you the most in your life? Like, doesn't have to be one, we want to, like, some name you want to take up.
One name. Actually, inspiration is a two-way street. It's a crossroads. So there are many people who we meet in one lifetime, and I am indebted to all of them. Actually, my acknowledgements, I have written it in my book, that even if it is for a moment, the acquaintance that I came across, I learned something from them, and I hope they hopefully learn something from me. So actually, the universe inspires me in a way. Okay, you can say that.
Okay, wonderful. So we talked a lot about chanting. I know I'm putting you in a spot. So I was wondering if we could close the session with whatever is your favorite chant.
A Vedic chant.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I'll go with my favorite one.
Yeah.
Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahavidyam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you.
It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, Vivek, and I'm sure everybody who has come in on this conversation at various times have left, inspired. So you still have a question here from Avi Suresh. I'm not sure if you want to answer it, but it's an interesting question. If you ever find yourself in a dark place, also he's telling you it's not a question. He says if you ever find yourself in a dark place, just remember what an inspiration you are to so many. That's really sweet of you, Avi. So that's a very beautiful thing. That's for you, Vivek. Yeah. So I think it's absolutely amazing all these different things that you're doing, and what a wonderful, beautiful space that your mind is. So continue being the inspiration that you are, and good luck with everything else that you're doing.
Thank you. And thank you all for your wonderful questions and wonderful comments. And like I said, inspiration is a crossroads. So we'll meet somewhere, sometime. I always believe in that. So yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
Bye, Vivek.
Bye. Okay.
And thank you, all of you.